Hi, welcome back to part 3 of how to create a school mascot. I'm your host Daniel Butler, and now we're going to start the production stages of what we're going to do. Now, I decided that because we wanted to keep with the traditional school theme, that we would do what I do for most customers that are getting school mascots done or things that are school related for sports and other activities. And during this time of season, it's our fall season, so most of the stuff that we design and put things on are going to be things like hoodies. And we're not just going to go ahead and just put the logo itself on there. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do some things down the sleeve, and we're going to do some stuff down the back as well, because we want to give you an opportunity to actually see how most people would like or desire to have their school apparel designed for school. Keep in mind, especially with a lot of schools going to uniforms, things like this become more and more popular, and it's more and more important that you think about not only the design that you're going to put on there, but what people are seeking and looking for during what time of season. So let's go ahead and get started with the production process, and we'll make things happen.
Starting out with our first part of our design, we're going to use the Roland BN20. We're going to load it with Easy Print. Easy Print is a vinyl. It's very durable, very good under washing conditions, and it holds up pretty well. The Roland BN20 is going to first print this material, which is the vinyl, and then once it gets done printing it, it's going to suck it back in, and it's going to start cutting. Now we're going to load our GX24 with vinyl as well, except for this vinyl is a solid color and it's not meant to be printed on. It's going to be an easy weed, and it's a very strong and durable vinyl. Now we're going to move into weeding our design, and what weeding is it's just basically removing the vinyl that's been cut that we don't want to be applied to our shirt or our hoodie or our item that we're going to print on, and we just remove it. You start with the corners typically, and you just peel away and remove with weeder, which is like a little spike tip utensil that you use, or not utensil but tool that you use, and you can also use an X-Acto knife too if you don't have one of those. One really good tip when you're dealing with cut and print graphics or just cut graphics is to put a border around it. It allows you to have an area to grab from. So if you put like a box around it, it will cut the box after it gets done cutting the graphic. You remove the outline box first, and then you can start peeling from an edge that's easier to grab if you put a box around it. We're going to move into printing our hoodie, and I'm going to preheat our hoodie. This allows for any designs to be applied a little easier. We make sure that the item is wrinkle free, and we start applying our graphics. Start with the back first. The reason why I'm going to do that is because it has the simplest of the graphics, and it's a little easier to do before we get into the bigger graphics, which are applied to the front and sleeve. When you start to peel the backing or the carry sheet away from the graphic, you want to make sure that you pull it at a corner and also at a smooth, evenly paced. You don't want to just like yank at it or yank directly down on it, because if the heat has not applied correctly to it, it'll end up ripping up part of the graphic, and then you'll have to do all kind of things to try to fix it, or you're just going to basically have to start over. So you just want to take your time, peel it with a nice consistent force, and then you just gently pull it off. When it comes to printing on sleeves, one thing that you'll typically see is there will be some kind of fold line on the actual sleeve. I usually lay the lettering or the graphic that's going to go up on that sleeve right next to where the seam or fold is on the outside, not the inside of the actual item. And I never try to print directly on that actual line, because it will cause things to lift or heat not to apply at an even rate, which will cause the design to lift off.
Hi, welcome back. From concept to finished product, our design has come full circle. Now it's time to talk about a couple of things that you might want to keep in mind before you actually start going out to price jobs like these. First thing you want to understand is that anytime you design a logo or some type of graphic, there should be some compensation for that. And if not, you should never give up the artwork. In some cases, you want to keep that logo because you can use it in other projects. In other cases, you want to sell that graphic, that logo, or that image because of the time you put into it, and it may only pertain to one particular school or individual. In this particular case, I would recommend that you hold on to the artwork. Anytime you're dealing with animals and different things of that nature, there are always multiple teams, whether they be Little League or whether they be school, where that design can come into play again. With that said, never email any of your designs to any particular person if you have no intention of selling it or you have no intention of retaining it, because once you send it out there, it's easy to be used, it's easy to be sent to other people, and before you know it, your design will be in other places and you won't have compensation for that. So I recommend that unless you're selling that design, you never email, you keep all your original files. Now, on the particular hoodie that we designed here, as you can see, we went through some steps that we didn't necessarily cover in the design process, and that's because we have other tutorials that will come up that dictate strictly to designing a hoodie. Now, for what we have here, for school purposes, anytime you're dealing with a school, there's always going to be an issue of quantity. The more they order, the lower they want the cost to be. So I'm going to give you a low range and I'm going to give you a high range. The low range is if they're doing a large volume. The high range is going to be if they're doing a low volume. So with that said, your low volume is going to be somewhere around a minimum of about $30. your high is going to be somewhere around 65. What you have to keep in mind is that hoodie's cost, the weight of the item, also the amount of printing that we did on this particular item. We did front chest, pocket, sleeve, back shoulders, and we added a number. All those particular things should have their own separate and individual pricing on how you want to set that up. But you want to make sure that you're charging for each thing that you do, because there's a cost and there's a cost in time based on how long it took you to do the job, if it's worth it to you. So it's not as easy to print on sleeves, and it's not necessarily as easy to print on pockets. Those things are going to eat up time, and you need to be compensated properly for doing that particular job. So I hope you gained some knowledge for what we've done here today. We've taken it from A to Z, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Have a nice day. Don't forget to hit subscribe and the like button.
Please subscribe so that we can blow up this channel. Have a good day.